All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 359 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today we've got Lonnie St. Louis Kiss on the way. He's incoming, he promises. Andrew, a live Catman on the message board. And the voice of reason, 69th Blizzard, Ken.
Hey.
All right, so let's go straight into stuff, nothing to pimp. Who bought shit this week? I bought a CD.
You're a liar, because you bought that probably when it was first came out. You just got it this week.
No, actually, I didn't. I just
You did?
I ordered it on Saturday.
Okay.
So, no, I think I did order it last week before the release date, but I didn't order it when originally came out. And I was in Amoeba Thursday, and I nearly bought the vinyl. I was like, $60 for vinyl? No, I'm not doing it. And actually managed to walk out of Amoeba without buying a single item. So I was very proud of myself.
But it's triple vinyl for $60. I don't think that's actually terrible in this day and age.
No, it's not terrible in this day and age, but I'm just really more about the music these days. The vinyl,
Gotcha.
to me, I find it a pain in the arse to actually, says the guy who did just buy a new stylus for his deck, because I got some Aerosmith Quadraphonic LPs into rip, so I wanted a nice fresh needle. So, yeah, I do make the effort, but only for stuff I really want to. I don't want it to be an everyday sort of thing. I'm not going to go.
I agree.
I'm not going to go behind me and get Paul Stanley's now and then to spin on the turntable to see if it sounds better than the CD I've already got on my iPod. No, convenience is king. So, and plus I'm unloading on my vinyl. So everyone got this, but let's just talk about the tour. Who bought tickets this week? Andrew?
No.
No?
I wait until the absolute last minute. Since I typically go and see Kiss alone, I wait until the very, very last minute, and I try to snipe out one seat as close as I possibly can. So that's how I always get so close.
That is also very smart because of now the market-driven pricing on many of these means that you probably get a better deal as well for the ticket that you're going for. Meanwhile, Ken, why don't you tell the story? Because obviously you bought tickets and then told me where you were, and
so here's the story. I got on shortly after 10 a.m. and I was going to buy tickets, and so I'm selecting. I get on there, and here's the seats, and I choose the front row, and it's the front center, and they're gone. They're like, oh shoot, I better go to the second row. I go and select an aisle seat on the second row. As I'm selecting it, I had it, and then it went away. I'm like, what the hell happened? And I see, oh, someone already got it. So I just took the next two next to that, and then I purchased and all that stuff. And then later I said, hey, Julian, I got my tickets. So, I'm at this location here. And then he joked back and said he was at the next seat. He was joking originally that he was going to be in the next seat, because if you go back to the prior year when we saw Oakland, the show in Oakland, we had seats right next to each other. We didn't plan it.
Nope.
We didn't plan it, but we ended up next to each other. It's not a lie, I'm telling you, Andrew. And so so it comes to be so he goes back and then finally looks at his ticket, because he didn't pay attention to it too closely, and then he said it is that seat right next to yours. So we ended up 2 concerts in a row just by crazy chance sitting right next to each other. What are the odds of that? 2
What are the
concerts
odds?
in a row.
And sitting right next to each other, here is Lonnie.
COVID's over in St. Louis, and there's traffic again. Sorry about that.
Well, glad you could make it. We're just talking about buying Kiss tickets. Andrew's waiting. Ken and I got tickets next to each other once again without even trying or coordinating. What about you? Are any of the shows in your neck of the woods, or did you have postponed tickets from previous?
There's no really shows in the neck of our wood, in the neck of the way. But I have not pulled the trigger on anything. You know, Columbus is like the closest, and that's like 6 hours away. Nothing really close, unfortunately. Andrew, are you going to Columbus?
I'm not sure. I mean, here's the thing. I'm a like week of kind of guy. That's where I'm gonna pull the trigger and see what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't really like to see Kiss in Ohio. I kind of like to travel. Pittsburgh is probably the one I'm absolutely going to. So yeah, but we'll see. I mean, again, there might be money bag soda events that we go to or that we do, but it's going to be a game time decision, I think.
Yeah, cool. So we were just happy that they're coming back to Northern California and Mountain View.
Surprising.
Yeah,
I was surprised by that as well. Yeah.
It is surprising. The last Mountain View show was, of course, canceled. So, fingers crossed, because I was actually, I broached the subject with my wife. I said, now that our son's at university, he's going to be there, we could go and kind of visit him. And she said, where's the Kiss show?
She was ready for that.
Yeah, I said, we could hop across the border as well and go to Tijuana. Yeah, no, you're not doing that. Okay, well, Mountain View's announced. Yay! So, I'm happy. All right, so let's move on to Off the Soundboard has come out. I am very happy that it's out and to have a copy of that. Andrew, what are your observations on this release?
This has been my favorite show for a long time, and if you are a longtime poster on the FAQ board, you'll know that when we were anticipating what was going to be on Kissology Volume 3, we were hoping that this was going to be on that. It was never on a list, but it was kind of one of those shows that we hoped it would be on it. For those of you that don't know, this was a webcast back in 2001. There's not a whole lot of information where the webcast took place. It was probably Japanese only, but somehow, some way, somebody captured the old pixelated webcast from 2001, and we've been listening to that ever since. And it's very of the time. There's a lot of scrubbing noises. It just doesn't sound great. But this show has always been one of my favorite shows. So I was excited for this release when they announced that this was going to be the show. Now, the thing when I first noticed is that introduction is not the 2001 introduction. It's just not. It's the 2019 introduction. The 2019 intro is done by Fran, which is Paul's guitar tech, whereas 2001 used to be done by Spike. So again, we still can't get rid of our bootlegs because the introduction is still different. However, once you get past the introduction, it's actually great. Some things you're hearing for the very first time, a lot of the raps and a lot of the in-the-middle stuff was cut from the webcast because I guess it was just about the music, especially if you're Japanese, you're not going to want to listen to a webcast in English. I know they're a bilingual society, but still, I digress. But anyway, it was cool to listen to the entire show unabridged and a cool performance and a cool time in history. We all thought back then it was going to be the end. And for them to choose this show as the first show, it's very, very, very cool. Before we get on the air, Julian and I were kind of talking about the show a little bit, and for those of you that don't know, there was also another webcast, a U.S. webcast, that I believe was from I want to say Cleveland, 2000, but it might have been Chicago 2000, because I'm looking at the dates right now, and they did play Cleveland May 5th and May 6th, 2000, and I think that's when the actual webcast was. Again, later on they played Chicago May 11th and 12th, so I can't remember if the webcast was from Cleveland or Chicago, but one of those had a webcast. I watched it. It was on Pepsi's website back in the day, so maybe that's something else that could come, because that's another board tape that they might have ready. So, but again, this release, 2 thumbs up from me. I love it. It sounds great, and it's cool to have something pristine that we've had kind of a crappy version of for so long.
All right, so while I go to the other guys, think of some of what you think are the standout tracks on this recording now that we've got it in its full sonic glory. Lonnie, did you pick it up or check it out on Spotify?
Absolutely. I got the CD from You Discover, came in the mail on Friday, actually, so I got the day of release, which was nice and refreshing. I was excited to get this. I mean, like Andrew said, when these shows were going on, I mean, I know for myself, I really thought that these shows in Japan and Australia were just going to be a footnote at the tail end of their career. And I was still sold on the whole farewell thing while these shows were going on. I was very disappointed that Peter wasn't going to be a part of it. I was really hoping that they were going to finish it the right way with all four of them. But I was still intrigued by the Ace Frehley, Eric Singer lineup, and I had heard rumblings of it early on that, hey, they sound really good. And, you know, got several bootlegs from Japan and Australia on that tour, and they sounded great. And it's like, wow, it's, you know, and we all love the medleys that you know, aren't on this particular concert, but it's really nice to have an official memento of this lineup that, you know, unfortunately that America never got to see. So I was really excited about when they announced it way back in, well, we found out what it was way back in March. They didn't really announce it up until April, but I got it. I really like it. It's fantastic. And we'll get into it a little bit more, but I love Paul's voice on it. Paul just sounds incredible on it. And we were just like sitting out on the patio listening to it last Friday night, and it's just like, this is great. This is the band that I love. This is the band that I fell in love with. You know, just hearing the Paul Stanley voice, in my opinion, still in its prime, just outstanding. So I'm a big fan of it.
Ken, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I know I heard bits and pieces of the Tokyo show. I did not have the bootleg or anything like that, but I just, you know, was on the net, you know, seeing that sort of thing, seeing the show and snippets and things like that. So, but I was definitely interested in that lineup, which is, you know, it's the shortest lived lineup, I guess, of Kiss, right? And I was fine with when it happened, when Eric, they, you know, chose Eric to go there. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think he was gonna continue. I didn't know that down the line he'd be a regular member, but you know, it is what it is. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I knew he was a great drummer, so I figured it would give them a kick in the butt, kind of like when Eric Carr took over for Peter back in '80. So yeah, I was looking forward to it, and it's something new and live off the soundboard. We've been wanting this kind of stuff for a long time, and it took a long time, but it's finally happened. Finally happened, and I enjoy it. It was really good.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. So, you know, thank you to those who made this happen, because it is appreciated by some of us. I know people are discussing, you know, various aspects of it, but it really was an electric performance. And just comparing it, I mean, I've had, you know, I think it was the Bondage CD of the webcast, you know, that was my listen for many years. And just to hear it full bombastic glory, it's not, you know, it's basically the same feed, but just, you know, direct pixelated sound, you know, for want of a better term.
It's funny, you know, we're talking about this webcast here, and as you guys were talking about your thoughts, I started looking through, you know, the old Kiss Asylum and web pages like that, and I can't find a ton of information on this webcast, so it kind of makes me wonder if this was something that was only reached Japanese audiences at the time, and then kind of came over in bootleg form, such as VHS and all that, and it's just interesting to kind of look back and see what news articles are about that. Did it happen live? When did it happen? So I'm looking on the old Kiss Asylum board, the news board for March of 2001, and there's not a single mention of it. Not one. Which is weird.
That's strange. And I can't remember either. You know, I know there was a webcast way back when that it was what persuaded me to go broadband and get DSL, because I tried to watch it with my dial-up and you just couldn't do anything even then. But whether that was late 90s or 2001, I don't know. But that said, what are some of the standout tracks for you on this? And, just before we go into that, one thing I did today on my walk was I queued up the Rutherford show from 2000, played that first, then I played the New Year's Vancouver one, and then this in a row. And this, by far, is the best of those three shows that we've had kind of officially released. So, again, very happy with it. All right, Andrew, let's go back to you for, what are the standout tracks for you on this recording?
Easy. Talk to Me. It's such a huge standout track. It's one of those ones where we first saw it on the set list and we're like, are they really doing that? At the time, they hadn't done it since 1980. There wasn't any Ace Frehley solo band that was doing stuff. So Talk to Me is a standout track. Love Gun is cool. 100,000 Years are cool. This is just a fun show to listen to. And it's cool. Even I Was Made for Loving You is kind of a standout. But again, if we're talking about absolute standouts, it's got to be Talk to Me.
Yeah. Ken, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Talk to Me and Love Gun, too. And definitely, I really enjoy it's one of my favorite songs, Black Diamond. I really love that. I mean, the whole thing is really well done and very clear, and the performances are right on. So I have no complaints about it.
Yeah,
it's all
Lonnie.
good.
Yeah, the whole thing really stands out for me. But talk to Me for sure, just because I don't really have a whole lot of live recording.
Yeah.
I obviously don't have the live official recording that Talk to Me, period. But that Heaven's on Fire and Do You Love Me, just the whole thing really stands out. I love the performance.
Yeah, agree. Andrew hit all of them for me. It's 100,000 Years. I Was Made for Loving You actually is my standout track on this recording, and obviously Talk to Me can't be denied. Overall, it's funny that we bitch about set lists and talk about it ad nauseum, and it's really not that different than what we get these days, and here we are.
Different order, he's right.
Different order. So it doesn't take much to please us, so that's good at least. All right, let's move on into... Andrew went back east this week, or this week past, and attended Tribeca, and got to see the airing of part one of the documentary. So we wanted to get, ping his thoughts. But I want to start in reverse and talk about the show first, so that anyone who doesn't want to hear any spoilers about part one of the documentary can check out after Andrew tells us a bit about the show and his thoughts on that.
The show was really cool. You could kind of tell that the guys were really happy to be on stage in front of people again. And man, I have never been at a Kiss show where the flames were that big and that hot. I've been at outdoor Kiss shows before, but I mean, these flames, you see the pictures they posted, the flames went up, had to be 50 feet, easily, and they were hot. They were so hot that people in the front had to cover their faces because they were so hot going up, and they packed a full show's worth of pyro into 5 songs, without a doubt. The only thing missing was the confetti at the end of Rock and Roll All Night, but the band sounded great. They looked like they were having a great time, and just seeing the pyro explode and all, it was great to finally see them back doing what they love. And you can tell these guys are going to miss when they finally hang it up here in the next year and a half, or whenever the last show is going to be. But it was clear that those guys were really happy to be on stage together again in front of people. And like I said, pyro, super hot. And for those of you who haven't seen any of the videos or any of the stuff on there, the set list was Detroit Rock City, Shout Out Loud, War Machine, Heaven's on Fire, and Rock and Roll All Night. And they kind of mixed it up a little bit. I was glad they just didn't, play Deuce, and they didn't do any of the standards. Hearing War Machine and Heaven's on Fire, which I know they've done a bunch in the past couple of years, was cool. Was cool to hear. And I had a lot of fun. So yeah, something very, very cool. And I was glad I got to see it.
I'd like to give a shout out to Jake Papalato for live streaming it on Facebook, so I was able to watch at the time. So that was very cool. I know there were quite a few people live streaming. It was cool for all those people who didn't make the trip. Lonnie, what are your thoughts? Are you surprised that they threw in Heaven's on Fire and what was it? And War Machine into the
War Machine? I thought it was great, because usually for performances like that, or any kind of, I know it wasn't on national TV, but any kind of just performances like that, we'll do the easy hits. Obviously Detroit Rock City is a great opener, but I like most of us. We're kind of sitting there on Friday night on kind of just watching it on my phone. Detroit Rock City's going on, like, all right, well, from this they'll go straight in the deuce. They just, as the whole song's going on, as probably most people thought as they're watching it, and they did. And I don't get me wrong, I would love to hear Deuce. It's a great second song of the set, but I was like, oh, shout it out loud. And then I still thought they were going to go in the Deuce after Shout It Out Loud, and they surprised me again and didn't do it. But War Machine, very cool, and Heaven. I love Heaven's on Fire, and I'm glad it's back in the set. It has been back in the set since they started the End of the Road tour. So I thought it was cool. No complaints at all. And I agree with Andrew. Like, from what I watched, they were genuinely happy to be back on stage with each other in front of the Kiss Army.
How many people were there, Andrew?
Less than 500. Probably closer to 300, to be honest.
Yeah, but just to have an audience instead of playing to an empty hotel. Like
person over there.
Right.
Over there.
Let me hear you over there. So you could tell that they were definitely happy to be on stage with each other in front of a live audience. And yeah, they're gonna miss it whenever they hang it up. I'm sure for them there's just nothing like doing it.
Yeah, so how hot were those flames? Hotter than hell is the answer. Ken, what are your thoughts on the set and the performance? Did you manage to check out any of the videos on YouTube or watch any live streams?
Yeah, I checked on YouTube, the whole performance, so I thought it was really good. Yeah, definitely, they were definitely having a good time. I don't think I've ever seen Paul go over the Gene and do this thing on, his tongue thing, and they're kind of having fun there, and yeah, and then Gene's at the wrong mic and kind of there at the beginning, and yeah, it looked like a lot of firepower that they're putting off there, especially at the Flames. So, but yeah, as far as the songs, I could tell you this. I can tell you, I'm glad they didn't do "Lick It Up," because that would have been almost an obvious one they probably would have done. But I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they did. Instead, "Heaven's on Fire." As I think an alternate to "Lick It Up," and yeah, the other songs are all good. It was a nice tight set list, and just kind of plowed through it, and it was all good. Really good.
It was over too quickly, and I know there's someone saying, damn it, they didn't play the Oath. But you know what? For that sort of event, I thought it was perfectly stated set. I thought
that's that same guy that's screaming about Dirty Living. That didn't play Dirty Living at the Symphony. That's that guy. He's screaming about the Oath. Come on, man.
Dirty Living!
He doesn't play Dirty Living, gonna be screaming murder. So he was probably screaming murder that whole time in 2003. Come on, man.
But the one important thing that Paul announced during that mini show was that they were resuming touring in August. So it was great to hear that from the stage, that things are going to start moving again. The machine, the wheels are turning. So obviously with, then tickets going on sale and additional dates being announced officially this week, it's been a good week to be a Kiss fan, unless you're waiting for your vinyl.
Yeah.
Or if you've received a dud of the, I have been told that it's called something else. I'd called it the cat sphincter pressing. It is actually now the bird shit pressing. So because it looks like a pigeon dropping on the on a clear vinyl, but whatever. It looks actually pretty cool. Some of the photos people have shared of theirs. So hopefully yours arrive. So good week to be a Kiss fan. All right. So if you don't want to have any spoilers about the documentary, we thank you for joining us through this half of the show. But now, Andrew, the question is. The first question, I guess, would be, after seeing part one, does it live up to expectations?
It does. It's a very this part is spoiler free, so everybody come on back. It documents the Kiss story, not Kisstory, the Kiss story very well. And people that have seen all the VH1 documentaries before, there's something in this for everyone. And if you love Kiss, if you even just like Kiss, this is for you, and you need to tune in. I hope it doesn't fizzle out on part two. I don't think it's going to, but the way that the story was crafted, this is cool. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I did.
Now, what about people on the KissFAQ? Are they going to like it? Since you did say that Kiss fans will like it.
Can't please everyone.
They really should. I mean, there is, a disclaimer that Ace and Peter weren't involved, so I know people are gonna have a problem with that. And there is a dig at Peter later on about not giving the permission to use Beth. I didn't think that they needed to kind of go into reprimanding Peter on camera about it. I thought that was a little unneeded. But leave those two parts out, and this is actually something really, really cool. I initially wanted to go and see this because I know you three guys know this, but maybe the people out there don't know this. I did pitch a movie idea to Kiss in September 2018. And that movie ended up becoming my unofficial movie one last time. But I wanted to make it officially with the band. I'd spoken with Doc, and I have emails back and forth. So when Kiss 3 was announced and I saw the first trailer, I had a real bad feeling. I was like, oh God, please don't have them do my idea. And then just, oh, please don't. I'll have a really hard time being a Kiss fan if they had done that. So I get to New York City, I sit down, and the first 4 or 5 shots I'm watching, I go, oh fuck. It was. I'm telling you guys with 100% certainty, I know One Last Time was set in New York, and this one starts with concert footage from Vancouver and Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. But the way that everything was put together, dude, it's fucking exactly like One Last Time. Exactly. Okay? And when you guys watch it on June 27th, you'll see what I mean. Just do an A and a B. They're very similar how they were put together. So when that started, you hear me go, oh, fuck. I was, but then, once they went into the actual story, and I was like, all right, this is not okay. I feel better. There were definitely similarities between it, but again, we're telling the same story using the same footage. It was all right. This is a cool documentary. It's got awesome footage in it. Nobody knew that silent 8mm footage existed of Peter Criss playing drums in the 60s, but it's here. St. Louis, Keishi Kite Festival, 1974. It's here. And there's all kinds of little blips and blobs in there, and the footage looks great. The Fort Worth 1977 footage that was used for the Love Gun promo that was aired on TV has been rescanned. Looks immaculate. Looks like it was shot yesterday. It's awesome. So seeing little things like that, being a collector and being a fan, it's awesome. I can't say enough good things about those little pieces of footage in there. There's even a really great little black and white thing where it looks like Peter's rehearsing Beth. Obviously Beth is in there, so Peter's just kind of sitting down and getting ready to sing. You don't hear him sing, but that's cool stuff too. And finally, the Lydia Criss home movies can be seen throughout this. So if you're a fan, if you're a collector and you want to see cool little clips, it's awesome. Remember how cool it was when we finally saw VH1 Kiss Behind the Makeup, and there was footage in there from the Dynasty promos, the Sure Know Something videos, and all little things of Cobalt Hall 75. How cool that was. That's what this is like. But the story seems so much fuller because they were able to stretch it over a 4-hour time frame. You get to hear cool little stories about the inception of the band, and you get to see cool little things. And if there wasn't bootlegs, you would have heard Kiss at the Daisy for the first time. That's in there. How cool is that? The one thing that I have to say is there is footage from ABC in concert that was clearly taken from YouTube. I wish they hadn't done that. Take that out of it. This is an awesome documentary. Part 1 is, at least. I'll see part 2 when you guys see it. So yeah, that's my review in a nutshell. I mean, there are so many cool little things about it that maybe I forgot that you'll see when you see it, but man, if you love Kiss, you're gonna love this documentary. It's awesome.
Nice. So, Lonnie, what would you want to know about part 1? About either Andrew's impression or things to make you feel more enthused about it.
I'd like to know how much they talk about the making of Destroyer
Quite a bit, actually. They
Yeah.
interview Bob Ezrin.
Cool.
And Bob
Very,
Ezrin-
very cool.
Bob
I
Ezrin
think
kind of
that-
talks about how important it was to go from the live record into something that continued their growth. So there is quite a bit on Destroyer.
I think that's good to hear, because I think that's very important. I mean, and say what you want about Destroyer, but there are 6 of those 9 songs are just core Kiss songs, and it was such an important time for them that and we talk about it. I don't need to lecture the Kiss Army of the importance of Destroyer coming in after Alive, but I think that's so important. That's an important part of the story that needs to be told, and I'm glad that's in there. And where does part 1 end? Can you tell us that?
Yeah, part 1 ends at the Tom Snyder show. So it kind of ends as the band
cool.
is. It kind of ends how the band is falling apart. They talk about the problems during Phantom and all the things like that. So that it was kind of cool. One thing that they didn't touch on that I'm kind of glad they didn't touch on was Cadillac, Michigan '75, only because we've heard that story before. It's in everything. And if you want to hear about Cadillac, Michigan, you should go watch The Greatest Show on Earth, the Kiss fan film that's on my YouTube channel. Greatest Show on Earth, fan films, plural. Anyway, they don't really go into that. They don't really go into just the Cadillac, but there's something in there for everyone that you may not know. I mean, I know a lot of it because I sit around and I read books like this. So, but honestly, there are so I've probably forgotten so many things about it, but there are so many things in this documentary that I thought, hey, that's really cool.
I think that's a cool way I think that's a cool place to end it. I was curious how they were going to end it, part 1 and part 2. But I think that Tom Snyder, everything that goes on, and I can see how they would paint it, that the band's just falling, the wheels are coming off, type thing. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. So one would be the background music as the what is the background music, and how did that work during the documentary? And second, how were Gene and Paul as far as their openness and honesty about some things?
Well, Gene actually says that he didn't have any struggles with substances as Ace and Peter did in the 70s, but he did mention that he had struggles with women and how he treated people.
Sure.
So he was actually open about that for the first time, where he just didn't slag the mud. He kind of said, I had a part in all of this too. As far as the background music, there's a lot of Muzak type music in there, especially when they're talking about Beth, because they don't play Beth. But there's a lot of Kiss music in there. A lot of Kiss music is in this documentary. And I was kind of hoping to hear a little bit more as far as demos go, as far as unreleased stuff, because us collectors know that there are those there's that summer tour rehearsal that came out, but there's also those demos that were done in between the Kramer sessions and the first album. That some of them are on the box set, but there's supposedly like a bunch of demos that were done.
There's
two sessions. There's just 2 other songs, right?
Yeah. And there's one other recording session from '73.
So, but those are those things that we were hoping to hear that we really don't. But still, we hear. I mean, just pretend that we hadn't heard the Daisy, and they're playing that stuff. So for the casual fans that doesn't scour the internet for Kiss footage, like us, they get to hear something really cool that they've probably never even heard of before. And both nights at the Coventry are represented in there. They kind of edited together to make it look like there were 2 cameras on them. There wasn't. The far angle is one night, and then the closer angle is the other night. So
that means cold gin.
Deuce.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Deuce.
You mentioned Bob Ezrin. What about Eddie Kramer? I assume they talk about the demos maybe and live.
Yes, they do talk about the demos. They do touch on Alive. There is some really cool footage from Cobo Hall in there that I hope people are able to pick out. Footage of the sign, the actual Kiss signs on the back of the record.
Awesome.
There's some cool footage of that. There's probably more Cobo Hall footage in the VH1 documentaries than there is in this one. But again, you really have to understand that they wanted to do something different, so it's not going to be like all the others were. There was a lot of focus put on Cobo Hall, Cadillac, and those things, and other ones. Not to say they're absent here, but they focus on other things. I mean, hey, when I saw video footage of Peter from the 60s, I was like, man, this is cool. This is how we're starting out. Sign me up. So that was real cool.
What about Wicked Lester and the coverage of the band coming together and transforming out of that band into Paul and Gene deciding that they weren't following really what their vision was with that band?
I think there's probably some erroneous information in there, and it might just have been how it was edited. But Gene had mentioned that they tried to fire everyone in Wicked Lester. They disagreed, and then Gene and Paul quit.
Yeah,
so
that's my understanding of it.
But if you watch every other time they had talked about it, it wasn't really told in that way. So I thought that was interesting that they told the story in that way. And the way that it's edited, they make Wicked Lester look like it was just a flash in the pan. They don't mention any performances of Wicked Lester. They just kind of mention like every song in Wicked Lester had a different sound and was trying to piggyback off of any pop culture reference that they could have at that time. So there really isn't a whole lot. They show that stupid group shot so many times in that, and they're zooming in on different members. And there's a couple little photos of Steve Carnell in there, and there is no interview of Steve Carnell in there. But they do Paul and Gene kind of do reminisce about how they met. There's several different interviews that Paul and Gene did. There's just these black background interviews that Paul and Gene did, but there's another interview where Paul's in his house, and there's another interview where Gene's not in his house, but he's wearing Paul's clothes, which is odd. But there is a cool little piece where Gene and Paul are kind of sitting on the couch together, and they're just kind of talking about the early days, which something like that is cool. Hey, I'd watch 2 hours to see that in an abridged version is cool, because a lot of these other things that we've seen on Kiss, you've never had two of the guys telling the story in a room and like vibing off each other. So being a fan to see those two guys talk about that was cool. But again, how cool would it have been to see the four guys just sit in a room and tell stories? That would have been a lot cooler. I just kind of want to hear Ace just be like, oh yeah, and just, I want to hear Ace kind of react to everybody else. But again, very cool. We've never seen anything like that before, so to me it was cool.
Lonnie,
what about the solo albums? How much emphasis or how much do they talk about the solo albums?
There's not a lot on the solo records. They kind of lump that into Kiss Meets the Phantom. People that have looked at a lot of original band documents and original band contracts know that the solo albums were kind of pre-planned in 1976 as far as their record contract goes, and how they were counting towards the number of records in the contract at that time. They do tell the same old story. They were unhappy during Kiss Meets the Phantom, and they wanted to do solo records at that point. So that kind of goes into Dynasty, and that kind of goes into how the band started falling apart. So that was kind of cool. They kind of go. There's a bunch of cool footage of Gene from WMMS, which I had never seen before, where he did some interviews. I think it was from an episode of PM Magazine that we have never seen before. So that was kind of cool to see Gene promote the album. I was kind of hoping that they were going to show footage of Ace or Peter promoting the album. They really didn't. I know Ace did some radio interviews. Actually, one of the things that I forgot to mention is, even though there are no new interviews for Ace and Peter, they did use the interview that they conducted with Peter that ended up on the Second Coming. So there's little pieces of exact audio that were in the Second Coming that they reused in this documentary to kind of retell the story. So I thought that was really interesting that they have who knows how many hours of interviews that they have of these guys that we've never heard before. So I thought that was interesting that they decided to use an interview that was taped in February of 1998 for this. And that February 1998 interview ended up in the Second Coming.
Nice. Ken?
No, you go.
Okay.
He's answered a lot.
Yeah, you've talked about some of the footage. Some has been very tightly controlled, and people have seen it, so it's not going to be new to absolutely everyone. Some of the stuff that I've seen in the trailer, Joined in the Woods, obviously them getting out of the Hotter Than Hell promo film, Calderon, 75, fire breathing. You know, what
Beacon,
if you had, was that Beacon?
Beacon, yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, them bowing is Beacon.
What would you say is your gaga moment from part one, where you were just sitting there and going, either holy shit, I can't believe I'm hearing this, or I'm seeing this?
It's that footage of Peter singing Beth, because they're clearly rehearsing somewhere. He's out of makeup. Where is that from? Is that from the same rehearsal tape that we've seen where they're doing a bunch of songs and the camera's far away? And that same tape that we get, I Want You? No, excuse me, it's Take Me, that's on the Kiss My Ass video. That's really cool. I love seeing rehearsal footage and stuff like that. That's the stuff I want to see, especially from the 70s. But I did see that in the trailer. There's a lot of clips of the famed I video in that trailer, which made me laugh.
Of course. I think anyone who knows anything about that video knows that Kiss had it. You know, that no one was getting anything that Kiss didn't already have.
I agree.
Now, it would have been more interesting if the video, the parts referenced in it, had the glitches that the videotape that was sold had, because then, you know...
That was burned.
You're right. How could I forget that all went up in smoke?
All went up in smoke.
I think people will enjoy that, though, getting to see an unwatermarked. And I think I showed brief clips of it, and I know the Norwegians got to see it through a special arrangement before I got rid of the tape. But that's going to be fun. Now, is there a moment on part one, other than the disclaimer, the unnecessary disclaimer against Peter, or actually not the disclaimer, the kind of calling him out later on, that was a real downer for you, or any part of the story that you thought was not handled very well?
It's obviously the Peter thing I didn't think was handled very well at all. But
well,
no,
that's why I said other than that.
Yeah. Aside from that part, I don't really think that any part of the story was poorly handled. I almost think that we need a 5-night event to kind of go over all the things that happened in Kisstory. But no, I didn't think anything was handled poorly. I thought it was all represented pretty true to form and pretty true to all the other things that I've looked at. Now, I thought that Kisstory, even though I love Kisstory, the book, I thought that was the Gene and Paul story. Even though Gene and Paul are the only ones that had new interviews in this, I still think it's a pretty good band story. So there really wasn't anything that I was watching and I was like, they really didn't talk too much about that. I would have liked to have seen a little more footage of the Kiss comic, only because I really wanted to see more footage of Stan Lee. So I thought that would have been kind of cool. But it wasn't something I go, they didn't talk about that. I really missed that part. There wasn't any part of it where I go, man, that was handled poorly. And when I was watching it, I didn't want it to end. I thought it was just so cool that we finally, after all these years, finally got to see something like this.
So how did you watch it? Did you have a notebook, or did you just focus?
I just focused. Didn't even check my phone. Didn't even check my phone. I sent a motherfuck text out to a friend of mine. Her name was Sydney. After I had seen the beginning, and I was like, they stole my idea, because like those first 3 minutes, man. When you guys, Lonnie, when you guys all see those first 3 minutes, you'll understand what I mean. Because it is exactly the way I started one last time. Exactly.
No, I'm sure you were. Like,
I almost stood up and I was gonna be like, those bricks, but I didn't.
But I'm sure that it saves your fandom. Had they not kept going in that direction, but I'm glad it stopped going in that direction for your fandom's sake.
Yes.
You'd be sitting here with a different attitude today.
I wouldn't be sitting here.
I
wouldn't be sitting here. So I was glad. I was glad they decided not to do that. But again, we were telling the same story. The story that I was telling made sense to tell. So I'm not going to say that they stole my idea. The way that they edited it probably could have been done a little more creatively to not be mine. But regardless, you got to watch both of them. You got to watch One Last Time. You got to watch Kisstory. And those are things that are going to be in Kiss fandom world forever.
So being that you're there with, you said around 500, maybe less than 500 people watching this, was there like a collective gasp anytime like some footage came up, like when the St. Louis stuff came up? Did everybody go like, oh my gosh?
What? I don't think there were definitely people that were casual fans that were there. There were also industry people that were there, and there were A&E people that were there. Even the guys that I was with that were huge Kiss fans, they didn't understand why I was freaking out over the Kiss footage. Because you got to remember, we're diehards. People on the board, they're diehards. We live, eat, and breathe this stuff. We trade it. We dissect it. We look at it with a fine-tooth comb. This documentary is not made for us. This documentary is made for the people that are fans and that want to see the story. We were lucky that these little nuggets of things got included for us diehards, but Kisstory was not made for a diehard to watch it and learn something new. Kisstory was made to tell Kiss's story to the greatest and biggest audience possible. And I'll challenge anyone that wants to challenge that. I'll challenge anyone that wants to come at me about that statement, because it's the truth. If something was going to be made for the diehards, then it would have been 2 hours on Eddie Kramer showing us the tape and how he cut apart Kiss Alive and how he mic'd up the audience. That's for the diehards. But for the biggest possible audience, that's what this is made for. And we're lucky that there are nuggets in there for us.
No, you're 100% correct. It's for the masses, just like when you go see Kiss at an arena or at an amphitheater. It's for the masses. It's not for the diehards. It's for the broadest audience possible.
Yeah. So but let me tell you, it's cool. It's so cool. I was able to watch it as someone who enjoys, So for me, loved it. You guys got to watch it.
Okay, so storyline. What I hear isn't actually a linear story, is it? Because it does skirt over a Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun Alive 2, and the solos
really
in essence. Doesn't it?
I mean, here's the thing. They talk about when Kiss was released. They talk about when Hotter Than Hell was released. They talk about when Dress to Kill was released. Even though they don't show the picture of Rock and Roll Over or Love Gun on the screen, they're showing footage of that time period, and they are going over things that happened in that time period. They're not saying Love Gun was released June 13th, 1977, or whatever the fuck it is. They don't do that, but those time periods are represented because they're showing footage of Paul Lynde. They're showing footage of the Love Gun, promotional tapes. They're talking about Alive 2. They're talking about things. They're just not like saying it's not. The story is not like that farewell tour 10-minute video where it shows the album and it shows the month and the year it came out. If you tell a story like that, it becomes very boring. Very, very, very boring. The way that they covered that time period was visually. Because when you're telling a story like that in a visual medium, I don't need to narrate every detail to you. When you guys, if any of you guys are comic book readers, you can tell an emotion in, a panel that was shaded a certain way. I don't need to tell you in every panel that this guy is sad, or I don't need to tell you in every panel that Batman is the world's greatest detective. I can do a lot with imagery. And that's what they've done on this. So yes, they don't say, Kiss Alive 2 came out in October 19. They don't say that, but they still show footage from that time period to let you know that the story is going further and further and further. So all those comments, all those threads on the FAQ, they were all started by people that are looking for something to hate. And all those responses are from people that didn't see the movie. So stop looking for something to hate. Our favorite band is on TV 2 nights in June.
That to me is the key. This again is
2021.
in 2021. We're about to have 2 nights of Kiss. Paul was on TV today. They've now got a tour to promote as well. They're doing lots of different things. There was press coverage. There's a ton of shit going on right now. It's
They
exciting.
were just on Entertainment Tonight, talking about the movie and talking about, things about that are happening. So if you were lucky enough to get what you wanted, which is more Kiss, shut up.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I criticized Paul when he was, talking about his Now and Then album, saying that he can't be bothered to persuade someone to give it a chance. I actually feel like that now, because I now know that we're not even going to try and persuade someone who's made up their mind that they can't stand this thing without seeing a minute of the real, put together thing. Yeah, you've seen the 3-minute trailer now, thank goodness that finally
I think that trailer
dropped.
kind of sucked, to be honest with you.
What?
Yeah, that as the trailer was made.
Which trailer?
Both of them.
Oh, both? I thought the second one was way better, as it at least delivered some of the, the magical artifacts that, the eagle-eyed, diehards are going to see. It was at least something there.
Hold up. So they're making a trailer for people that are already going to watch the damn thing. Let's just be real on it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I think, I mean, I have a big problem with trailers. Trailers, they've been giving away the story for years. I stay away. I watch the first teaser trailer for something, then I stay away from everything because I don't want to know. I want to go in. I want you to tease me enough, which I thought the first one did a perfect job of.
No, it
and then
pissed me off.
I'm going to go watch
Had
it.
Nothing.
Well, good. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see anything.
I need a hint.
I don't need anything. I was going to watch it anyway.
I used to unwrap my presents at Christmas. I used to sneak down and then with the thing find that sellotape and rewrap them because I couldn't.
There were things like listen, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I don't watch any of the subsequent trailers because I don't want to know what happens. I'm going to see the movie anyway. I don't need to be spoiled. I want to sit in that theater and have some wow moments.
That's why
I don't need I don't need a trailer. I don't need a trailer, and I don't need the movie to hold my hand to tell me the story. If you're gonna visually show Kiss's growth by showing a bigger stage and a bigger pyrotechnical show and all that stuff, I don't need you in the same show to go. And in 1977, Kiss bought $1 million worth of gear, and first it was in Japan. I don't need that. I'm smart enough. We're all smart enough to understand that the band is growing. So if they're just going to visually show that to me throughout the documentary, awesome, great. I don't need a 3-minute trailer that is going to show me footage I've never seen before I see the movie. How cool. It would have been so cool for all these people that are bitching now to see that St. Louis footage like I saw it. I had no idea that was in there. I saw it, I go, holy fuck, it's the Kite Festival. Like that, I want to have those moments when I go see things that already interest me. And if you're watching this show, if you're posting on the message board, shut up. You were going to watch this anyway. You don't need a trailer that's going to hold your hand and say, oh, by the way, look, we have 5 rare clips that you got to see. Shut up. Go watch it. And then come back and tell me about it.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I think that, that 4 seconds of Kite is going to be enough to get some people who were on the fence off the damn fence to watch the damn thing. And I think if nothing else, that might be the goal. Because, yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. The people who are going to watch it are going to watch it no matter what. Totally. The people on the FAQ, the ones who are saying that they're not, are probably going to watch it because people are so contrarian. The people on Facebook in KISS community, they're all watching it. Well, except if they're in Europe, Canada, or some country that doesn't have A&E or a partnership. So sorry, guys. The people who are able to are going to watch it. But I think that the vast majority of people who do watch it are not hanging out on the FAQ or Facebook groups. They're living their lives, they're working their jobs, they're tending their families, they're growing vegetables, and they don't know that we exist, and they certainly aren't watching this podcast or any of the podcasts that are talking about the show. So I think they are going to have that exact same moment where we threw our arms up in the air and said, holy shit, Keishi, Kite Festival, and instantaneously knew you what it and where and the date of it and the size of the crowd. We're nerds.
We are nerds. We aren't. And but again, listen, some of the people still saw that stuff and they probably still bitched about it.
Yeah, there wasn't enough of it.
I got it exactly. I got to tell you guys, watch it on the 27th and the 28th. I'm certainly going to watch it. Listen, I purchased live cable today so I could watch it when it happens. I haven't had live cable for 20 years. Yeah, about 20 years. About 20 years I haven't had live cable. I had like the antenna and I had the thing just came out of the wall. I wasn't a big, for me, I didn't never watch a lot of TV until recently when, Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. I was a movie guy. Always a movie guy. So, I'm excited. I'm treating this like a movie.
Cool.
I'm excited that this is going to happen, and who knows? Maybe it'll inspire me to do something else. I remember when I first saw. Oh, and by the way, I am so glad that they did not use the Dynasty font as the logo. I'm so glad, because you guys remember that first little image that we saw on someone's editing suite, and it was like Kiss3, and I was like, oh my god,
yep.
This is what they're doing. And that actually got my ass into gear to make One Last Time. But it was really well done. It was a beautiful night when we got to watch the movie. And it was cool, man. It was cool. I wish we can go see this in a drive-in and, and everybody could see Kiss after they watched the movie. It was cool, man. And it's so cool that you can see something like this in Kiss in 2021. Go watch it. Go watch it.
As a side note, I don't know if anyone saw that interview with the director that Mike Brunn did.
Mike Brunn and DJ Viola.
DJ Viola. That was pretty good interview. And what's interesting to me is he said, or DJ Viola, he thought that part 2 was better than part 1. That his opinion, of course. He's the director, but he thinks it was better than part 1. And I don't know if that was intentional to make people stay and watch the second night or what. But
you gotta watch the second night because you got it.
Oh yeah. And then the other thing is, it was interesting how he said that he had to kind of retrain Gene and Paul how to be interviewed because they've always been answering these same questions the same way
Stop
for years,
cliches.
without saying and without going into detail. It's like you're saying this answer, but why are you coming to this conclusion or answer? Why did this happen? Not just a quick one-liner, more detail, I guess. So he had to pretty much retrain them and open up about things, I guess, a little bit more than they have in the past. So,
did you hear the word
Sounds
gymnasium during part 1?
I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
all right.
Did you hear the phrase "more makeup than your mommy"?
No.
Awesome.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I heard that I heard them say that when they were trying to be the New York Dolls, they were like, guys, we look ridiculous. And that's when they saw Alice Cooper, and they wanted to be 4 Alice Coopers. Gene did say something funny where everybody kind of laughed. Gene is like being the demon, and then Gene is like, oh yeah, Peter, I like cats. And he says that's how Peter came up with the cat. So, so I was like, oh man. I was like, and listen, I've talked to Peter a bunch. He's not a stupid guy. He's not. So, he probably had deeper meaning wanting to be a cat. But it was. Listen, I hate to repeat myself.
No, you don't.
I can't wait to watch it again. I can't
wait for the director's cut on Blu-ray.
Over and over. Yeah,
If there is one.
Yeah,
Right.
who knows? Lonnie, any last questions before we wrap up?
No,
Or Ken?
You've gotten us more excited about it.
Ken?
Just the other thing is they said it was asked of the director whether it would be eventually released on Blu-ray or some other kind of thing, and he had stated that there's some other opportunities or being talked about, I guess.
Bonus disc with Dubai.
Well,
there,
if you guys don't know, in 2010 when A&E aired, how was it, Kissteria, if you watched it in one of the live tapings or the live airings of it, you could purchase a DVD of Kissteria from A&E. And granted, it was a DVD. The damn thing wasn't even framed correctly. It wasn't even anamorphic. It was literally, they burned you a DVD in 4:3 aspect ratio and sent it to you on a blue disc. I have it. I bought it.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe this will be the same thing.
I don't expect it to be like that.
Hopefully not like the same thing
when they do it.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. All right. I have one last question, then we'll wrap up. Just the overall flow of the narrative and the special guests who speak. Obviously, Tom Morello is there. Dave Grohl is there. What about Tommy and Eric? And just how is that narration?
Tommy, to my memory, my recollection, is not in part one at all. Eric is in part one only to talk about how he saw Kiss in Cleveland in the 70s.
Cool.
Which obviously Tommy would have talked about seeing Kiss in Portland in the 70s, so it would have been kind of redundant.
And Eric, so Eric Singer, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, so it would have been redundant if Tommy had talked about it too, but it was cool to hear Eric kind of talk about those early days, and they did show some Portland 1975 footage, by the way, for Eagle Eye viewers. Tried to spot where that is, but it's in there. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to listen to other people talk about it. It was cool to listen to Dave Grohl talk about it. I'm actually kind of glad we didn't get a cavalcade of Paul Stanley's friends in this. I'm really glad.
So Richard Marx was not in it?
Richard Marx and Joe Bonamassa was not in this. I was actually really glad that they weren't in it. I guess it's the only thing, the takeaway on this is obviously some of the original players. Bill Coyne, all those people couldn't be in it. But they are represented in archival footage, which was nice.
Okay, let's leave it there, because that's plenty to ponder and to digest. Do check out Mike Brunn's. He's had two. He had a special guest on to talk about his experience at Tribeca, as well as his interview that dropped today with the director. So check out both of those. No doubt there'll be other podcasts doing coverage. So just pick and choose what you want to know about it in advance, and be ready. I'm hoping that we're able to do a live stream. Watching party with our commentary as we go along, but who knows, it may be one of those things where people just want to watch the damn thing and enjoy it, and then talk about it after the fact. So we don't know at this point. Until then, we've got Off the Soundboard to listen to. I'm going to give it another spin. Lonnie, I did find out one thing this week, though, and it is exercising to now and then does not work. So
I've not tried it.
That 4-mile walk was not a fun one. It just does not flow when you're actually trying to get hit by cars. Yeah.
I know better.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for this week. Andrew, thank you for sharing your thoughts, your memories, and your experience with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for always pimping One Last Time and all the other ones.
We didn't talk about it once. You talked about it several times and threw in.
But you guys know, having me on, I'm going to talk about it. But I do want to talk about one more thing, and I should have mentioned this earlier in the show. Kiss Army Spain is getting ready to release another brand new Kiss book called Kiss Destroys Madison Square Garden, 1977 to 2019. Head over to KissArmySpain.com to get your copy today. The book is 100% already completed. Ships in September.
And it's in English?
In English and Spanish.
There you go, because that's a big deal for some people. There you go. Yeah. Cool stuff. More fun stuff coming down the pipe. All right, so from Andrew, from Lonnie, Ken, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.